In Unit 5, we're going to be adding and subtracting decimals. Later, we're going to be adding and subtracting fractions, but for the first 3 lessons, it's all about decimals. So, starting off with adding 0.6 plus 0.01, we would really say 0.6 is 6/10. And on a decimal grid, if there are 10 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are filled out, so 6 out of 10. And on 0.01 is actually 1/100th, because if we take the decimal grid and divide it into 100 parts, this is 10 by 10, making 100 squares, only one of them is filled out right here. If I'm going to subtract, I can actually take, if I'm going to add them together, I can add the 1 here, so I'm going to have 60/100ths, be 0.61. But if we're subtracting them, then we would need to take off 1 square. So that would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it would be 59. But it would be 0.59. In order to show that on here, we have 0.6 subtract 0.01. So this is the place value grid I'm using. You can't take 1 subtract nothing, so I'm going to have to add a 0 here to see. Now 0 subtract 1, I can't do that. I'm going to have to borrow from the tenths place. This is going to become 5. This is going to become 10. Put this in black, it becomes 5. This now becomes 10. So then I'm going to have 10 subtract 1 is 9, and this 5 subtract 0 is 5. The decimal stays. So 0.6 subtract 0.01 is 0.59. 0.59. This page really just shows the different types of organizers. So we have the decimal place grid over here. So decimal place grid here. And then we have the place value grid, which is this one. And which one do you like to use? Now, if I think about it, solve, if we have 4.5 plus 0.01, it means that we have 4 whole ones and 5/10. I could write that in here, 4.5. If I'm adding 0.01, if I'm only adding 100th, then I'm going to need to add a 0 onto here, and I'm going to have 4.51. So I add up the same place values. I have to add up the hundreds place, and I have to add up the tenths place together and the ones place together. So this would be 4.51. If I'm subtracting, then I can still write it here, 4.5, subtract 0.01. I can put a 0 in the hundreds place. 0 subtract 1 I can't do. I'm going to borrow. So this becomes 10. 10 subtract 1 is 9. 4 subtract 0 is 4, and 4 subtract 0 is 4. So it becomes 4.49. If I'm using the grids, then I know that I'm still going to have 4. So there's 4 left over. And then if I subtract one of these, that is going to leave me with the 10, 20, 30, 40, plus another 0.9, plus another 9, giving me 49 out of 100, which is 0.49. With the 4 complete ones, my answer becomes 4.49. So I get the same answer whether I'm using the place value grid or whether I use the decimal grids to get my answer.